And we are live. Welcome back to the Content Swap Podcast. You are joined by Parker and
Aaliyah.
And if you are new to the Content Swap Podcast, this is a podcast in which we assign each other a piece of content at the end of every episode, engage with that content for the week. That could be a movie, TV show, game, book, anything really. And then we reconvene on this podcast and we talk about our thoughts. So before we jump into those, we like to provide a little news life update on what kinds of things are going on with us. So if you'd like to skip ahead to the content, feel free to check out the timestamps provided in the description on whichever platform you are listening to this on, and skip ahead if you'd like. And with that, let's go ahead and take it away. So it's been 2 weeks since we last recorded. Last week was Thanksgiving, so quite a lot has happened since our last episode. So, honey, what would you like to update the people on?
I don't think I've watched. Well, bear with me. I have caught a cold, so my energy's a little low. I'm feeling pretty crummy, but and also I feel like my memory is just not there right now. I don't think there's anything that I watched by myself. However, we've watched a few new things. So we watched Blue Beetle.
Mm-hmm.
And
great movie.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I liked it a lot. I thought it was really cute, and I don't really like the DC things. So I was kind of surprised that I enjoyed it as much as I did.
Yeah, there's a lot of emphasis on the characters, and
I was in tears.
Yeah, it got me emotional.
Sad.
I was like, DC.
Yeah.
DC can't make me feel anything. What do you mean? So, yeah, that was great. It was very refreshing.
Yeah, it was good. We also watched the Squid Games reality show, which...
We've seen the first half.
Yeah, the first half, yeah. Both of us were like, why did they even do this? This feels such in poor taste. Do they not understand the show, the premise of the show? Who would sign up for this? And then we watched the first episode just because we needed to put something on the TV, and we got hooked.
Yeah, we got very hooked.
We
finished watching it.
Yeah.
They only had the first half out at that time.
Yeah.
At the current time of recording, the rest of it I think is finished, but we haven't watched it yet. But yeah, that day we watched everything that they had. We stayed up till 1 a.m. watching it.
And it's so funny because my best friend had come over at the time, and so she started it with us, and she had similar thoughts of why did they do this? Why did they put this together? And then that next day she was like, girl, I stayed up all night finishing that. I was like, so did we.
Yeah,
we were just invested.
It is very investing.
Yeah.
That being said, I still feel the same way.
Oh yeah. I'm
about why did they do this?
Yeah, it makes no sense to me.
All of the talk of all the issues that were going on when filming the first game, where it was below freezing. It took them 9 hours to film. Everybody's freezing cold. You can see it watching the first episode.
Yeah.
So would have been great if they had done better preparation on that. I think that's the biggest red flag of the whole thing. But everything after that, we haven't heard any kind of similar types of complaints on that stuff. And I would say everything after that is really where the show gets interesting. So
yeah, I saw this TikTok though, and it was this girl who was like, I mean, it sucks. It sucks that people were cold and they had that experience, but at the same time, she was like, you don't sign up for the Hunger Games and then complain because it's hard. Right. She was like, what did you expect? And I was like, I mean, she's kind of got a point.
They weren't being forced to be out in the cold.
Yeah.
Some of them, that they would get out and they had to lay down and then it's freezing cold. Yeah. And I imagine it kind of sucked for those people.
Yeah.
But those that were still in, it is your choice to stay in. But 9 hours is a really long time to be doing
that. Girl in that squat.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Anyway.
But yeah, so it's interesting. I feel the maximum cognitive dissonance as I watch it. Yeah. I'm like, I don't want to support this, but at the same time, what's going to happen? I need to see it.
And as soon as we pick it back up again for that second half, we're going to be watching it.
I know.
We're going to be binging it.
I know.
Until it's done.
I know. It's so bad. Anyway, so there was that. And then last thing I'll update is, actually, you know what? So, okay, what I was about to say was today we watched Candy Cane Lane.
Yeah, the new Eddie Murphy comedy, Christmas comedy on Prime Video.
Yes. And I actually really enjoyed it. I loved it a lot. For a Christmas movie. You know, like, I mean, Christmas movies have very low standards for me. Well, okay, there's two different tiers of Christmas movies.
I thought it was very okay.
I have two different tiers of Christmas movies. There's like, you know, your classic Christmas movies where it's like nothing will ever be Home Alone. Like nothing will ever be the same kind of quality as like the Santa Claus. Like that just doesn't exist nowadays.
But I think a movie of that caliber could be made. We just don't. Anyway, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, there's your nostalgic movies that like nothing can ever be that, and then you have like your modern day movies that it's like, and maybe it's because I'm older, so like these movies are maybe targeted towards a younger audience, and so for me they feel really cheesy and corny and like kind of dumb. But I'm sure for the younger
most of them are. I mean, we are literally about to start talking about a cheesy holiday movie that I think perfectly
but that's not for kids
encapsulates that. Oh sure, yeah, okay, no, not for kids. Ours is like a Christmas rom-com, but
which is a whole different thing.
Right, sure,
that's a whole different
okay
another tier. but yeah, so like these kind of newer contemporary movies that are like for families to watch together, like I just don't enjoy them. Like Christmas Chronicle, I know so many people really love that movie. I don't care for it. I don't know what it is.
I thoroughly enjoy Christmas Chronicle.
Yeah, the kids.
It's very corny, but
the kids get on my nerves. I do love Kurt Russell. See, excuse me, I'm sorry. I love Kurt Russell, and I love that like Goldie Hawn is in it. I think that's super cute.
They got Kurt Russell for the adults, and then they got like really stupid child stuff for the children, and it's perfect.
But the kids ruin it for me. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, just you're overthinking it.
But what I'm saying is this movie is like, it's like that same caliber of corniness, of like cheesiness for the kids.
I did like the kids more in this.
Yeah, it's like I didn't dislike anybody. I didn't find anyone really annoying. I thought it was just like cute, you know, overall. Yeah. So like to me, this is better than Christmas Chronicle. And maybe I'm biased because it was also like an all black cast, and so like that felt meaningful to me.
That's fair.
And so like, yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed it a lot.
If I was to get deeply analytical about it, I would say that Christmas Chronicle just has a very clear, straightforward story that doesn't kind of like require any kind of leap in your imagination. And I felt like Candy Cane Lane was doing some stuff that I was like, really? Like, what is going on right now? Like, why is nobody freaking out about this kind of event happening like at their local high school? Whereas you watch Christmas Chronicle and they see Santa doing magic and people are like freaking out. And it's like, okay, I can buy this. You know, I feel like this is a story that is actually happening to these characters, whereas watching Candy Cane Lane, I was like, no, I'm just watching a dumb Christmas movie.
Perhaps, but I also feel like Christmas Chronicle is something that's been there, done that. You know what I mean? Like Christmas Chronicle, it's like, oh no, something's wrong with Santa's magic. We need these kids to like help him with his magic and like get things going again and like bring back Christmas spirit. Blah, blah, blah.
It's Kurt Russell as Santa Claus. That's what makes the movie. That's really the only thing I like about that movie.
Yeah.
But it does so much for me. Anyway.
Well, yeah, I feel like this movie was like innovative. I liked that they had like these little ornaments that moved. I thought that was really cool. Like the visuals of it. I liked that it was centered around. Visuals of it. Yeah, I liked that it was centered around the song 12 Days of Christmas, and like that was a part of the plot. I thought that was something different that we haven't seen before. And,
I did like that.
And I don't know. It was just Santa really wasn't like the focus of this movie, which was nice.
Yeah. Well, if you're into it, if it sounds interesting, go check it out. Let us know what you thought.
Yeah. The last thing I wanted to update was something that I did engage with independently, which was a book that I read called Time to Shine, which I thought was it fits so perfectly with the assignment you gave me this week, which was Yuri on Ice, which we'll get to later. But it's basically a like hockey romance and set kind of around Christmas time. And it was just so good. I 10 out of 10 recommend. It is very spicy, very, very spicy. And yeah, I absolutely loved it.
Wow.
So,
What was the name again?
Time to Shine.
And who was the author?
I have no Rachel something.
You gotta give the author their credit.
I know. Let me pull it up real quick. The author is Rachel Reed.
Rachel Reed.
So yeah, 10 out of 10. Check it out. You all know I don't give rom-coms a 5 out of 5, but this might get a 4.5 out of 5, which is like probably my highest rated rom-com.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I really liked it. And like I said, it was a perfect match with like Yuri on Ice. It really got me into the mood of ice sports, romance, LGBTQ romance. I was like, yes, give it to me.
Really hearkening in the winter time for you.
Yeah.
Just bringing it in.
Yep.
All right. Cool.
That's all. How about yourself?
Nice. Yeah, my update for this week is mostly just focused on the content that I have been engaging with. So Thanksgiving was great. We got back. I started picking up Alan Wake 2 again earlier this week, and I'm almost done with it. I'm hoping to finish it either, tonight or later in the week. I'm hoping to finish it before the Game Awards, which is on Thursday, December 7th. It's up for the most awards it has the most nominations of any other game. So I'm hoping to finish it before then. It's just got really great scenario writing, I'm finding. Like the story at first didn't really make much sense to me, but then as it developed, it did start to make sense, and it painted like a whole picture, and it just does some really cool stuff with the medium that like it's focused on telling an intricate story, but I love games that take full advantage of the fact that like, hey, this is a story that would only work in this specific medium, and we're going to make that cool. We're going to make it an experience, and it's just doing a lot of that, which is really cool. Where I would say it falls short is in like its user friendliness. It's just got really bad user experience. Just like as a player, it fails at being a game, so to speak. Like very common, I think, like quality of life practices that games would be doing. It's not very good at doing those things, but it does make up for it a lot with the story. So I am planning on writing a review for that whenever I finish. So look forward to that on my Instagram account if you follow me there. The other game that I wanted to talk about was Gran Turismo 7. I started playing just kind of like on a whim. It was on sale, and the sale was about to end, so I was like, okay, yeah, like I want to play Gran Turismo 7. It sounds like I've been playing Forza pretty much since Forza Motorsport 2. I want to say that was like 2010. I've never really been a Gran Turismo person, but this new one just looked really good. We watched the movie, and that was a ton of fun. And so I picked it up, and I always kind of knew that, like, it's a simulation racing game, and Forza Motorsport is also supposed to be a simulation racing game, but that Gran Turismo was just like a slightly step above. And I, for me, honestly, as somebody who's been playing a lot of Forza for the past 13 years, Gran Turismo is just like doing such a better job at being like a museum of car culture that is like really diving into the history of the automotive industry and just like increasing the connection between like the automotive dealers who like make these cars and the people who are like fans and appreciate those cars. It's not just that you're racing with these cars or driving these cars. Like you really, if you want to, can really learn about the history, or you can watch videos that have been like hand curated by the different manufacturers. The game just kind of has this like very sophisticated aesthetic, very sophisticated like music. I would say like Forza feels like a party with neon lights, 24/7. That's like, hey, cars, whoop whoop, yeah. And Gran Turismo feels like, that like jazzy cafe where you're like, ah, yes, the newest vehicle. Ooh, excellent, excellent. And that just does so much for me. I really, really love that. And the whole like party aspect of Forza is what's kind of made me not as excited about that franchise in recent years, but this was for me the perfect time to get into Gran Turismo, because now I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, cars are great. And it's like I've always been into cars, so I'm just really excited to keep playing it. The last thing that I wanted to update on was I went and saw the new Godzilla movie in a theater, Godzilla -1, and I gotta say I highly recommend it for anybody that might be interested in watching it. I will say, like, even if you're thinking to yourself, Godzilla, like I've seen a million of those, I would still recommend you go see it, because it is a totally different type of Godzilla movie. It's really focused on telling the story of specific characters at a specific time and really just emphasizing their struggle, and you get so connected to them. And then it's like, oh, Godzilla, like that sucks. I wish they didn't have to deal with that. You just really like, you just really feel for them. It's like it's the story of these people first, and then a Godzilla story second, and it's just really well done, really well made. It's got fantastic music. I really recommend it. It's unlike any other monster movie I've ever seen. I actually like teared up watching it, which I don't think I've ever teared up watching like a big franchise blockbuster type of movie. And this movie's not really trying to be like a big franchise movie. It's just trying to tell this specific story, because it's very self-contained. Like, you can watch it and from beginning to end, and it's like, that is the story of this movie. It doesn't need to go be like a million different movies all in one. Like, it's not building towards some team up Avengers level threat movie later on. It is just like, this is the story, this is the movie, and you only have to worry about this. And that's just such a refreshing excuse me, such a refreshing thing to be seeing at the movies right now. I mean, we loved Blue Beetle, but even that like is building towards something. So yeah, anyway, really recommend it. And that's my update.
You also had your 30th birthday party this past weekend.
I did. I had my 30th birthday party yesterday. My birthday hasn't happened yet. It's on the 6th of December. So this episode's coming out on the 5th. So by the time this is out, it still won't have been my birthday yet. But we did celebrate my birthday last night with some friends. Went to a brewery, had some beers, had some pizza. Went to a local arcade, had some cake, did the song, which is, appreciated and fun. Thank you to everybody that showed up if you're listening. It was just a really, really good time. And it felt like, a fifth grader's birthday party, and I loved everything about that. I'm usually pretty low key about celebrating my birthday, at least like in my later 20s. So it was fun to go back to a classic style of birthday as a child would have at the age of 30. It was kind of, it was fun for that reason. It's like, hey, I'm still youthful even though I'm getting old.
I didn't tell you this when I was ordering your balloons, because I ordered your balloons in advance online, and I was like looking through the party store stuff, and I almost got you like Super Mario Brothers plates and napkins, and like they had these like fake mustaches.
Oh, that would have been fun.
I know, but then I didn't. But then I ended up just getting like regular plates and stuff. And then when I went to the actual place to pick up your like balloons and everything, I was like, oh, I like regret not getting like the mustaches and things. Let me go see if they have them, and I couldn't find them. So I was like, oh, bummer, whatever. But yeah, I was like, why not go? I mean, it's already like a child's birthday. Why not go all out?
Well, it's a thought that counts, and that's very appreciated.
Yeah.
So I had a great time. Yeah, it was fantastic.
For sure.
Anyway, yes, turning 30.
Yep.
That's something. Well, shall we dive into this week's content?
Sounds good.
All right, so I am up first with your assignment. So I was given a Netflix rom-com, Christmas rom-com called, I don't know if it's a Christmas
Holiday
rom-com. It's a
rom-com.
holiday rom-com called The Holidate. So, it stars Emma Roberts and an Australian guy.
His name's Luke.
His name is Luke.
Brace. I think my autocorrect corrected his last name, so I have to
no.
double check it.
I do not remember Emma Roberts' character's name. Do you happen to remember it?
Sloan.
Sloan, that's right.
Yeah.
And the Australian guy plays Jackson. So
Luke Bracey.
Luke Bracey.
My
All right.
phone corrected it to Braces.
Apologies to Luke Braces. All right, so Emma Roberts and Luke Bracey. So it starts with Emma Roberts. She's at Christmas with her family. Her younger brother gets engaged at this Christmas dinner. Her sister is there, has a very loving husband, and her mom is just heckling her about finding a man because she's getting older and she needs to find a man. And her aunt is also there, and her aunt brings a mall Santa to Christmas as her quote-unquote holiday. And it's just somebody to have as your date for the holidays, just to make sure that you're not alone for the holidays. So, yeah, she goes to that. She's like, well, that sucked. And she gets gifted some clothes, I believe. Meanwhile, Jackson, the Australian dude, he's been on a few dates with this young woman. She wants him to meet her parents at Christmas. He goes, and he has the weirdest Christmas of his life. It would be the weirdest Christmas of anyone's life, I think, because her parents are just treating him like he's their new son all of a sudden. He's wearing PJs with all of them. I mean, those things aren't necessarily like weird. I mean, if like they had been together for a while and it's like, maybe if they're engaged or something, like, wearing PJs with the family, being treated like the new son, not that weird. But like date 3 or whatever, very, very weird. So he breaks things off with that girl, and he also got gifted some pants. So
Cockies.
Khakis, which he pronounces cockies, almost like he's saying car keys. So the next day or very soon afterwards, both of them are at the same store at the mall trying to return the clothes that they got, and they are next to each other in line. They get into an argument, and then they both start talking about how weird their Christmases were. Then I don't know, they're just kind of I don't really remember it very well, but they're just talking at that point. They bump into the mall Santa that her aunt had brought to Christmas. Her aunt's, quote unquote holiday. And he's like, oh, what's a holiday? That's a terrible Australian accent. I apologize for everybody who heard that just now. But that's when she kind of Sloan realizes like, oh, you know what? I need a holiday at all the major family functions on the holidays so that I won't be alone and so that my family will get off my back. So her and Jackson decide to be each other's holidays for New Year's Eve coming right up, right? So they proceed to do so. They have some fun. They get to know each other. They recreate Dirty Dancing, which leads to a very unfortunate incident. Watch the movie if you want to know what I'm talking about. And, that's kind of like pretty much it from what I can remember from New Year's Eve. Fast forward to Valentine's Day, though, and she is at a chocolate shop at the mall, and she bumps into her ex-boyfriend and his new girlfriend, and Jackson happens to be walking by, sees her struggling with talking to her ex-boyfriend, swoops in, pretends to be her boyfriend, and then from there it's like, okay, yeah, you're cool. Let's be friends and be each other's holidays for all the major holidays. So then it just kind of proceeds from there. Like we've got St. Patty's Day. Did they do Easter?
They did.
They did do Easter. There's Memorial Day, 4th of July. So, all the while her family is very aware that Jackson is just like this holiday guy and that he's not like a serious thing. So her mom really wants to set her up with this guy, Farouk, who is like a child doctor. And at the 4th of July function with the family on the lake, Jackson blows his finger off. So they have to like go to a hospital. Turns out Farouk is there because he's doing like surgery. So I guess he's at the child hospital, but he also works on surgery.
Pediatrics.
Yeah, he does pediatrics, but apparently he also does finger surgery. So there's that. Somewhere along the way, they decide like not to be each other's holidates anymore, and for her brother's wedding. Oh, yeah, they were talking about like what are we gonna do for the wedding,
which happened to fall on Labor Day,
which is falling on Labor Day, right? So they have an awkward conversation because you could tell at this point they're starting to build a liking to each other, but they're not being very direct about it. So they awkwardly are like, "Oh, we'll just go separately with our own people." So Sloane brings Farouk, and Jackson goes with her aunt. Also to clarify, Jackson would be going to her brother's wedding at all because it ended up being that her brother and Jackson were actually friends from playing golf together. So there's that. Anyway, she brings Farouk. Jackson goes with her aunt who had the mall Santa holiday at the beginning of the movie. And Farouk and the aunt actually end up getting down and dirty with each other. And it is very weird. Then fast forward to Halloween, their holidates again. She's like a witch or something. She ends up accidentally taking a bunch of laxatives due to her sister's mistake. And she needs to make it home before she poops herself. And she's got like all of these laces and things tied up because she's wearing this very tight witch outfit. Anyway, her and Jackson make it back to her apartment. Then they like sleep together, which like weird timing after the whole poopy situation.
I mean, after such an intimate, he like cleans her off, like he like gives her a bath.
Right.
After something that intimate, like you're dating, you're married.
Right. So yeah, then they proceed to basically sleep with each other. Then next morning, well, guess what? This is a rom-com, so they poorly communicate once again, and they basically act like, it meant nothing, which then upsets both of them. Then fast forward to Thanksgiving. Sloane goes to Thanksgiving. Her aunt's holiday is just like a completely new guy. He has a heart attack because everybody is fighting, and it's stressing them out. And so she and her aunt go to the hospital for this guy's heart attack, and guess who is that man's doctor? Oh my God, it is Farouk. Because I guess he is now a cardiologist as well. Well, Farouk and the aunt, turns out, there's some heat there, and they didn't leave off on the best terms, but then they're like, oh my God, I missed you so much. So like that's a thing that happens. Yeah. And I kind of forgot what Jackson was doing for Thanksgiving, but Sloane just really wants him back at that point. She sees him at the mall because now this is the third time that they have bumped into each other. He came to Thanksgiving?
Yeah. She invited him still as her holiday, but she wasn't sure. Well, they were like, "Oh, is he actually coming?" And she was like, "Yes, he's coming." And then he came, and she had to go to the store.
That's right.
And they had a big argument.
They had a big argument. Yeah. Well, okay, yeah. Then proceed to like Christmas time. She bumps into them at the mall. So this is now the third time in 12 months that they have bumped into each other at the mall. There's just a lot of that going on in this movie. I mean, seriously, like how often do you have to be visiting the mall to be there at the same time 3 times within 12 months? That it's fast, but it's also a rom-com, so I guess it's okay. Anyway, she has this big public display where she's like, Jackson, no, don't go. I love you. I'm sorry that I wasn't expressing my feelings and I was pretending like I didn't love you, but I do love you. And it's like on a microphone and everything in front of everybody. And he's like, nah. But then he's like, nah, just kidding. Like, I love you too. They hug it out. They love each other. And now they're together forever. The end.
Wow. You went through that whole movie.
I mean, was it quick? I wasn't going to...
It was not very quick.
Dang it. Honestly, I think the problem here is that I was going to give like a quick summary, but then it's been so long since we watched the movie.
It was a while ago.
Well over a week since we watched it.
Yeah.
So I had to write all that stuff down just to remember like what even happens in this movie.
Yeah.
So I apologize if that was a little long-winded. But yeah, I mean, there wasn't much to it altogether. It's just like, hey, get together for all the holidays, and then turns out we like each other, and then some conflict, and then boop, let's get together. I will say what I really liked about this movie was that the structure of the premise, like with the whole holidays, like everything is going to take place on the holidays, but then like their relationship is also going to progress over the course of 12 months. It did a very good job of like mapping out these kind of genre trope events that happen in rom-coms, but like just in a very like progressive, like progressively growing the relationship, having like the Labor Day wedding where like everything kind of goes awry. It's just really well structured. Like it takes full advantage of that premise very well. I really enjoyed that. And it's like, oh yeah, then like Thanksgiving, like really like things are gonna hit the fan, but then they can get back together at Christmas. Like I can just remember, I can just like imagine being in the writer's room, putting this movie together, and just being like, oh, this is fun. Like this is it's kind of easy. It writes itself, you know. So yeah, I mean, I thought it was cute. Like it was fun, cute watch. I'm not ready to shout on the rooftops like, hey, everybody, you got to go watch The Holidate. But, if you're in the mood for a cheesy holiday-themed rom-com on Netflix that you can watch pretty quickly, like, yeah, add it to your list. There's a few of those out there, but, put this one on the list. You won't be disappointed.
Yeah. I, like, absolutely hate Netflix holiday rom-coms. I think they're all trash. This is the only one that I absolutely love and I have watched a million times, and it's only come out like a few years ago, so I watched it a considerable amount of times considering how recent it is. But like you said, it's just like I think it's like almost 2 hours, but it doesn't feel like it at all. Like it goes pretty fast.
Is it really?
I think so. It goes like really fast, and I don't know, it's fun. It's fun to go through all the holidays and see what happens for each one. And yeah, I don't know. I just enjoy it.
Yeah. I mean,
they have good chemistry.
Yeah. It was, I will say, like watching it right after Thanksgiving, it was a very good primer to the Christmas season. Like it really just like got me right in the mood. It was pretty much like the first Christmas related thing that we watched.
Yeah, it's a good ease into Christmas because it's not Christmas focused, but you got your start and your end. Yeah, and it's like, oh yeah, Christmas, we're back here.
right. Christmas.
Yeah. So yeah, any other thoughts before I move on to facts?
No, yeah, those are all my thoughts.
All right,
plain and simple.
Alrighty. So like you said, multiple scenes take place in a mall. And when we watched this movie, you were like, oh, is this the blankety blank mall in some place in California? And I was like, no, it's probably some mall in Georgia. And this movie was filmed in Georgia.
Oh, that's funny.
I was like, anytime there's a mall scene, I assume it's in Georgia.
Yeah.
And most of the time it is filmed in Georgia. So I thought that was funny. We talked about this scene where Jackson and Sloane kind of have their big argument, and this is where like everything really falls apart.
On what holiday?
On Thanksgiving.
Gotcha.
And so they're at a Sprouts grocery store, and Jackson says something along the lines of like, if Ryan Gosling walked in here and like offered you, the journey of a lifetime, like you would say no, because earlier in the movie on New Year's, Sloane was like, oh, if Ryan Gosling walked in here and like came up to me and said, she was talking about rom-coms and like how people act in rom-coms and how it's unrealistic. And she's like, if Ryan Gosling walked in here and like said this whole thing to me about like he wants to be with me or whatever, I would say yes. Like I'm not gonna sit here and be like, this is the wrong timing. Right. So he was referring back to that. Well, in this scene, if you look right behind Emma Roberts, there's a guy who looks just like Ryan Gosling. It's not Ryan Gosling. It's an actor named Chad. But
just Chad, no last name?
He has a last name. I didn't write it down. It's an actor named Chad.
You got to really emphasize Chad.
And he wasn't casted specifically to be a Ryan Gosling lookalike, but they decided to write in the script that there would be a Ryan Gosling lookalike, and they were like, well, you kind of look like him, let's put you in the thing. He was casted for some other, I think he's a stunt double, and so he was stunt doubling for the Australian dude. And so they put him in the background to just look like Ryan Gosling, and like people believed it. Like if you Google this movie, people are like, is Ryan Gosling in this like scene? Like
what?
People actually thought it was Ryan Gosling. I have a pic. Do you want to see a picture of him?
Yeah, I want to see a picture of him.
All right, here's a picture of him facing forward, but from his side profile.
Oh wow, yeah, it looks exactly
just
like him. Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yep, I would have fell for that.
So I thought that was hilarious. Another fun fact. So Kristen Chenoweth plays the aunt, Emma Roberts' aunt, and this is her 6th Christmas movie. And I feel like every Christmas movie I watch, she's in it. But then I looked at her IMDb page. The only recognizable movies that I've seen with her in it are Deck the Halls and Four Christmases. But she was in a bunch of other like TV, like holiday movies, Christmas movies. I'm assuming they're like Lifetime movies or something, Hallmark movies.
Okay.
Along those lines. So yeah. Last fun fact. So, in the Halloween party sequence of this movie, I call him Justin. Jackson's friend, played by King Batch or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Which like during this time he was in everything. He dresses up as a Black Panther, but like in a full like Black Panther suit, not like Marvel Black Panther, like an actual Black Panther suit.
Right. Okay.
But he's like referring to himself as a Black Panther, as in like Wakanda Black Panther.
Gotcha.
And in the script, they had written a bunch of lines like talking about like Chadwick Boseman, but by the time this movie was coming out, Chadwick Boseman had died, so they decided to take out those lines. But apparently in the closed captioning and some of the closed captioning, it still like has some of those lines.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, okay.
Yeah. Which I'm like, I wonder what they said. I mean, were they like making fun of it?
Right, yeah.
I'm like, why would they take it out?
Yeah, it was probably nothing like too terrible, but it was just like, yeah, given the timing, it would be in poor taste, and we still want to release this movie for the fall season of 2020, so understandable.
Yep. That's all that I have facts-wise for this movie.
Okay. Well, good choice. It was a good. We're doing Christmas swap. We've yet to mention this in this episode, but yeah, I mean the whole point of the next 3 episodes is that they're going to be like Christmas themed ish or holidays themed. We're very inclusive here. Yeah. So this was, I think, the perfect kickoff content for that.
Yep. Awesome. Glad you feel that way. All right. Moving on.
Let's move on to my assignment.
Yes, because I'm starting to feel very sick.
Uh-oh.
Yes. So moving on to Yuri on Ice, which is what I was assigned, and it is an anime show that came out in 2016. It only has 1 season, and it's like 12 episodes in the season, so pretty short. So for the synopsis, this show is about a 23-year-old figure skater named Yuri Katsuki, who basically returns to his hometown in Japan, and he's devastated because he did horribly in the finals of his previous skating season. And so he's back home. He's trying to figure out like what to do next. And one day he decides to like learn this skate routine that is the routine of like his hero and like the best figure skater out there named Victor. And Victor's this figure skater from Russia. And so this a video gets taken of Yuri performing this program of Victor's, and the video goes viral, and Victor sees the video and feels inspired by it. And so Victor makes this declaration that he is going to skip out on the upcoming skating season and be Yuri's coach. And so he shows up to Yuri and is like, I'm gonna be your coach, like dust yourself off because we're gonna make you a winner. And Yuri's like, oh my gosh, what? And so basically throughout the whole series, we're just seeing Yuri and Victor's like relationship form. They're bonding, they're becoming really close, they're helping each other. kind of like figure out what they want to do next with their figure skating careers. And there's lots of other characters who we like see as well who are competing against Yuri. And they have their own, or one of them in particular, also named Yuri, who's another Russian figure skater, kind of has his own like relationship with Victor and like has a beef because he wanted Victor to be his coach based on this like promise that Victor forgot about. But that didn't work out because of all these reasons you can watch in the show. And so yeah, it's just like a really cute show about Yuri going through this season, this figure skating season, and trying to kind of redeem himself from the last season with the help of Victor. So that's the overall synopsis. And so I was really excited to watch this show because you had watched it a while back before we even started dating, and you were telling me about the show. And you were like, oh, it has these like kind of like queer undertones to it. And I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. And so when you assigned it to me, I was like, oh yeah, I get to like watch it. And like, I'm super excited for it. And I was like, I can't wait to like see like LGBTQ romance and like an anime. And you were like, oh, well, like, don't get your hopes up. Like, it's not that like overt. It's not that explicit. And boy, when we watched this, it was super explicit. Well, they're clearly making, it's clearly in your face, and they're making reference to it without naming it. Yeah, so they don't actually say it.
Yeah, they don't say like, oh, hey, this show has like a lot of just gayness going on.
Yeah, they're not.
But it's like just. Put simply, I have no qualms about saying it. Like, it's a very gay show. Yes. It's super, super, super gay, but like in all of the best ways. Like, I am a very straight man. I am very, I'm very like, I am comfortable with my sexuality. But this is a total blast to watch. I like, seriously. It's so fun. I mean, okay. First off, you're learning a ton about figure skating. Yeah. But then like, everything going on with their relationship is like, it's just so heartwarming. All of the different things. It's
just beautiful. It's beautiful to watch.
I'm taking the words out of your mouth.
This is my absolute favorite thing you've ever assigned me. Like, wow. I'm declaring that. And I don't think anything will ever top it. And I could rewatch this I could rewatch the whole thing right now. I loved it so much. I loved seeing their relationship. I loved seeing all the other skaters and like their relationships with like each other. And it was just so heartwarming, like you said. And I don't know, it was just so cute and like so funny. And Victor's just like the best.
Yeah, okay, so I actually have thoughts on Victor's character, actually.
Oh, interesting.
Well, okay, I mean, I really like Victor's character, I really like Yuri's character, and I really like the whole romance that they got going on, and like the whole depiction of it in anime, especially like in a country like Japan, which is usually much more subdued with its treatment of LGBTQ plus relationships. It's still pretty much considered to be taboo in Japan. Mm-hmm. So where was I going with this? Where did I
You said you have thoughts on Victor.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, well, I guess rewatching this, I was like, I totally understand what Yuri sees in Victor. Mm-hmm. I am not actually all that clear on what Victor sees in Yuri. He just kind of sees this video and says, hey, I'm going to be your coach, also probably your boyfriend. And like, it's for me, Victor's like progression in the relationship is not the most organic thing, but at the same time, like, you know, if you don't think about it, like, whatever, you know, it's a blast. It's very fun to watch.
But I mean, like, I don't know. I feel like Victor knows what Yuri's capable of, and Yuri just needed the confidence to be able to do that thing. And I think it took a particular kind of person like Victor who has that like vulnerable side, like Victor like shows up authentically, just like
That's true. I mean,
he shows up with a lot of emotion, with a lot of vulnerability, with a lot of passion, and
he is fully himself.
Exactly.
And I guess he like helps Yuri be more of himself.
Exactly. He gives Yuri exactly what's needed, because I don't think if you had someone who was very like a lot of the other coaches are very stoic, they're very like just hard, kind of like harsh, like hard people, and that's like not the kind of person that Yuri needed as a coach, and that's like not what would bring Yuri to his like full potential. And so like Victor is like the complete opposite of that, and so I feel like Victor recognized that from the start and was like, I'm the person for this.
All right, fair enough.
And maybe I'm putting my own like, imagination into it. And this could be wrong, but like that's how as a viewer, that's what I felt.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Well,
now I will say one flaw to Victor is I do think at times he can be a little bit manipulative.
Yeah. They're actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because I kind of forgot about that.
Yeah.
He is at times extremely like, because he's got this dual relationship going on with Yuri, where he's basically his boyfriend but also his coach, and he knows he needs to motivate Yuri.
Yeah.
But then he kind of like uses the fact that he's also his boyfriend as a way of like threatening his confidence in a way. It's like
he toys with them a little bit.
Yeah, like make sure you do good or else I won't be your boyfriend anymore. kind of comments. Like that's kind of.
And just to be clear, he never says that he's his boyfriend. Like you're saying this because like you're like,
it's just it's the simplest way to describe it.
But I just want to like not put words that don't exist in the media, Well, but yes. That's he uses the fact that he knows Yuri adores him. He knows that Yuri is just like head over heels about Victor, whether that's romantically or just like in admiration. And he does use that at times, like you said, to kind of motivate Yuri, but I'll take it all away if you don't do this thing. But
still, like at the core of the story, the theme is like love. Yeah. And that's very apparent in like the character progression that goes on between the two of them, as well as like even Yuri's skating program is all centered around this idea of love.
Yeah.
And okay, so like maybe he's not his boyfriend, but like come on.
I mean, yes.
It's not explicit about it, but I also
did
read
the romance.
You do feel the romance.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, how could it not be? But at this is what I was saying when I assigned it to you, is like, they don't like explicitly kiss. They don't explicitly say like, that's my boyfriend, or like, that they're going to get married or anything like that. But it's like,
well, they do have engagement rings.
They do get engagement rings.
And all the other skaters are like, you guys are getting married.
Right.
And it's so cute.
So it's like, come on, that's his boyfriend. What are you?
I know. All of my notes were literally me just like watching these scenes and being like, oh my gosh, I love this. Oh my gosh, they're wearing rings. Oh my gosh, the like other skaters think they're getting married. Oh my gosh, it looks like they kissed. Like, it's like all these things that I was just like so happy about.
Yeah. I did read that Sayo Yamamoto, who's the creator of the show, stated in a fan book that she did face censorship when it came to depicting a kiss between the two characters. So I think it's specifically there's a part where Victor kind of leaps out at Yuri and it looks like a kiss, but then it kind of like pulls back in a different shot and it's like, oh no, it's a hug, but like it was a kiss, and it was supposed to be a kiss. But they did face some censorship in showing that.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love this. I wrote down, I said, I need more. I want to see Victor skate. I want more romance. I want to see Yuri get the gold. I want to see new programs, couples routines, everything.
Right. There's a lot that can happen.
I know.
So it also does a really, really good job of teaching you a lot about figure skating. And there's all this stuff within this that I just did not know prior to watching it. So like the types of jumps that figure skaters do all have very specific names based on like, are you moving forward or are you moving backward when you jump? Are you taking off of this foot or are you taking off of that foot? Are you landing on this foot? Are you landing on that foot?
Yeah.
Are you using your toe pick on your ice skate to help propel you up in the jump, or are you not? And how many turns are you doing? And they're all of those. It's very technical. All of those things are worth different amounts of points. So like I did do a little bit of digging into that. So for example, the toe loop is considered the easiest of the jumps, which is one where you're moving backwards and you use your toe pick to launch you up. And the axle, which most people are heard like, triple axle, the axle is considered the hardest jump, and that one is done not using your toe pick, and it's the only one where you launch yourself while you're moving forward. And so because you're launching yourself moving forward, that's why it's considered more difficult, because it's just really harder to like get into that spinning motion from that stance. So apparently you have to do a double or a triple axle in your short program. It's like required. And they have the short program, they have the free program. The short program's a little bit shorter, the free program's a little bit longer, but they do both of them, and it's like they perform the same short and free program throughout the season. So what I did think was pretty interesting. So like the triple axle is worth 8 points, but then a triple toe loop, which you're spinning 3 times for a triple toe loop, is only worth 4.2 points. But in the show, they do a lot of quads, which is a quadruple spin. So a quadruple toe loop is actually worth 9.5 points. So it's worth more than a triple axle, but a triple toe loop is almost like half of a triple axle, which I guess is to really show like how nobody does a quadruple axle. Like that would be impossible. So yeah, that's all my ice skating facts.
Nice. Watching this made me think of so many like ice skating movies that I wanted to assign you. I was like, have you seen Ice Princess? You're like, no. You're like, I haven't even seen I, Tonya. I was like, you haven't seen I, Tonya?
Yeah.
But Ice Princess, I definitely want to assign you in the future.
Yeah. One note that I wrote down while we were watching is that I think this might be one of the only anime I've ever seen where it is taking place in like real life and depicting different characters of different nationalities in anime.
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. Like even we're used to seeing anime characters, and it's like they're usually animated in a certain way to basically be like, are they white? Are they Japanese? We don't know. And then it's like the occasional black character, and fingers crossed they don't depict them in a very problematic way. But here it's like, oh yeah, that character's like clearly white. That character's clearly Japanese. That character's clearly Chinese. That one's clearly Korean. He's clearly Thai. Like there are these like subtle features that they're all given that, without being like tasteless or stereotypical, it's just like each character with the different nationality has like distinct style about them. That's like, oh yeah, like that guy. Like, yeah, he looks like he's Korean, and I'm looking at a drawing. I just thought it was really impressive.
And I like that they put the culture in their programs. Like the kid who's from Thailand, his music was like it was like a movie from, that was with words.
Yeah,
a Thai movie.
It's a Thai movie about a figure skater, and it's a Thai figure skater, and there's a song in the movie called "Shall We Skate?"
Yeah,
and he's performing to that song,
and it was meaningful for him to like have this song that's like from his culture that he was skating to, and I was like, that's so cute.
Yeah, he was saying like multiple figure skaters have danced to this music before, but it's never been a Thai skater, so it's a really big deal for me.
Yeah,
and it's like, even though it's a totally fictional story, like it's not a real movie, it's not a real like, it's not a song from a real movie, but they still made the song, and they made this character dance to it, and they provided it with this whole backstory. It was really cool.
It was really cool. I loved that.
So like all of the music is original.
Nice.
So I actually have a note on that. Well, actually, I'll get to that. I've got my notes kind of ordered in a certain way. I did want to comment on. So we've been watching Jujutsu Kaisen, the season 2, for the past few months, and a lot of people have just been joking, like, MAPPA, the people who animated Jujutsu Kaisen, also animated this. They also did the final season of Attack on Titan. MAPPA just has this way about animating men that, like, everybody's just loving. And it's like, we talk about, like, oh, these men on Jujutsu Kaisen are like, oh, when they animated Eren Yeager on Attack on Titan final season. But then it's like, then we watch Yuri on Ice, which was made in 2016. It's like, they kind of just always been doing that.
What do you mean?
Like they've always just kind of been drawing men in this way. Like, I guess I'll use you as a prime example. Like, you look at all these men and you're like, oh, so attractive. Like, oh, I love him. Oh, like, oh,
You mean like their physique?
Yeah, their physique,
Okay.
and just like their characters. Like, I've watched, Full Metal Alchemist, for example. There's men on that show,
Yeah.
but you're not looking at any of them and like thirsting over them. And it's like
Yeah.
all of the men in these MAPPA shows are like, all the women are thirsting for them, and it's not something that I've ever seen before.
They all have this essence.
Yes.
It's like this, like, it's not just the look, it's like how they carry themselves. That's what it is. It's the way that
the
they
swagger.
carry themselves. It's like the power they give off, or like even like the femininity that they give off, or like the vulnerability that they give off, or like it's just like, yeah, it's just like the way of being that it's like, yeah, Gojo, oh my gosh. Like everything about him. It's not just his physique. Because I mean, he's kind of like a scrawny man, He's kind of like just like tall and like lanky, like
Gojo from
Yeah.
Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But everything about him makes him so attractive,
Okay, well, everything that you just said, that was my point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if you were talking about like just their physique or like the way
No,
they're
just like
animated.
everything about them. Yeah, as characters.
Gotcha.
Yeah. All right. So, other facts on Yuri on Ice. So, Victor, his likeness is based on a real life figure skater named John Cameron Mitchell. Let me show you a picture of him. Like,
Wow.
you kind of see it. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, like, oh, okay, that's kind of neat. He's like an actor, former figure skater. Yeah. So he's based on Victor's based on that guy, basically.
Did you look up, are the programs that the skaters skate to in this show, are they like original choreographed?
Yes. Yes, they are. So they spent 4 years planning this show.
Wow.
Kenji Miyamoto is a figure skating choreographer and coach, former competitive ice dancer. He choreographed and performed all of the figure skating for the show, and they even took recordings of his performances to use as the sound effects rather than using stock effects, because each routine would have its own specific like skating sounds throughout.
Yeah. I literally, as we were watching this, because I was picking up on the sounds of their skates when they would do moves or like when they would do jumps and things like that. And I was like, wow, it's really awesome. They like down to the details of like, we're not just seeing them skate and hearing the music. We're also hearing their skates hit the ice or like glide across the ice. And like, that's awesome.
Yeah. There's just a certain level of like craftsmanship and like attention to detail in this that, like, on the surface you could just be like, oh yeah, the ice skating anime that depicts a gay relationship, but then it's like when you really dig into it, it's like, oh my god, there's all these themes of love, there's all of this like teaching you about figure skating and like putting in the detail of like having somebody choreograph all of it and get the sound effects going, like. And with all of the music is original. Yeah. It's great.
Has MAPPA figured out their like employees wellness stuff?
So I will get to that.
Okay.
Let's talk about that closer to the end, because I have a good segue for that.
Sounds good.
So one other thing I was going to say, there's a character who is based in Kazakhstan in this show named Odebek.
I love him.
Yeah, he is also based on a real life figure skater named Dennis Ten, who is from Kazakhstan. Unfortunately, he did pass away in 2018, and the creator of the show was like, you know, like, I'm super sad to hear that he passed. Like, he was a big influence on me on making the show. Like, there wouldn't be a Yuri on Ice if there wasn't a Dennis 10. So yeah, it's very sad. So yeah, there's that. Another thing I wanted to point out about, like, the name of the show, like Yuri on Ice. It's like Yuri ! On Ice. So Yuri is, as a genre in Japan, like in Japanese literature, manga, anime, Yuri refers to something that typically depicts intimate relationships between female characters. So sometimes romantic, sometimes spiritual relationships, but overall just like intimate relationships between female characters.
So wait, is like romantic relationships between two women like more okay in Japanese culture than...
So there is a male equivalent called, I'm gonna botch pronouncing this, but yaoi, yaoi. So there's a male equivalent, and it's like they kind of translate to like girls love or like boys love. So those do exist as like media genres in the country. So it's like it's interesting. It's like there's a taboo aspect to it, but then at the same time, it's like they have specific media with specific names that fit into that like specific subgenre that like people do experience, and people like also like to consume this stuff. So yeah, it's interesting, I guess, like juxtaposition of like cultural norms but then like cultural media. Yeah, so in this case it's not called Yaoi on Ice, but it's called Yuri on Ice, and you know the characters aren't female, but they are men who are like kind of, I don't know, feminine in a sense. They share a very intimate relationship. So that's, to me, probably like, aside from the fact that you've got, you know, Yuri who from Japan and Yuri in Russia as like two different characters named Yuri, to me that was kind of like, that's why it's called Yuri on Ice. Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Some other facts. So this was named by Crunchyroll as one of the top 25 anime of the 2010s.
Yes.
It had the highest combined sales for a TV anime in 2016. So things like Blu-rays and the like.
Love that.
Very popular in the figure skating community, and skaters actually performed 2 songs from the show at the 2018 Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang in Korea.
Nice.
Yeah. Right. And it was a very big hit in Japan. So now we're going to get into kind of a bigger topic. So it was a big hit in Japan, and it came out in 2016. They announced a movie in 2017 called Yuri on Ice, the movie, Ice Adolescence. And I know you were like, is there going to be more of this? I want to see more. So they didn't. Yeah, they announced a movie in 2017. It was scheduled for 2019. Then it got delayed. Then the pandemic happened. And people are kind of like unclear. Like, is this still happening? Is there going to be more Yuri on Ice? There is, I did look it up, there is an official website for this movie that says, like, we are still working on it. And it's being worked on by MAPPA. But in 2013, in June, I believe, the CEO of MAPPA made comments that, like, the show doesn't make them a ton of money, so it's tough to say what will happen. But as I said, like, the official website's still there. The show was never like officially canceled, so it's still left open whether there could be a second season. But overall, like, the sense that I got is that you should probably blame Jujutsu Kaisen.
it's like, don't blame my favorite anime for stopping my other favorite anime.
Right.
No, I love them both. I need them both to exist.
Right. So like MAPPA as a anime studio, if you're not in the know, they have been just working on seemingly everything recently.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they worked on the final season of Attack on Titan. They worked on Jujutsu Kaisen. They did do Yuri on Ice way back when. They worked on the second season of Vinland Saga, as well as just like a number of other things. They have been very busy just cranking stuff out, and it's like, how? And it's been a very big thing going on in the industry recently with the second season of Jujutsu Kaisen coming out, that animators who are working on the show have been speaking up, saying that their working conditions are like incredibly unhealthy. There's way too much pressure. They're finishing episodes like an hour before they go live.
It's wild. I was telling my mom about it.
Wow.
My mom knows nothing about anime, and I was like, Mom, they are doing these episodes before they come out. She was like, what? I was like, I know, girl. It's crazy.
Yeah. So like their hands are so tied with all these different projects because like the CEO of the company is really trying to like take on more projects that they can chew than they can chew, and just to really like try and turn MAPPA into like a force in the industry,
which they
like,
already are.
It already is. Yeah.
It's like maintaining that.
At this
like
point,
now they have such they've set the bar so high.
Yeah.
They have to like work so hard to keep it that way.
Right. And it's interesting for us to be talking about Yuri on Ice like at this time, because that Yuri on Ice kind of was like their first. It wasn't their first project, but it was like kind of the first like bigger buzz project that they worked on. Mm-hmm. And they'd only been around for like 4 years at that point, and it took them 4 years to make Yuri on Ice. Mm-hmm. So now it's like, I just read that Jujutsu Kaisen 0, which is the movie that they made, that's like a prequel to the show. The most animated films get made between 4 to 7 years to get made. This still blows my mind. Jujutsu Kaisen 0 was completed in 4 months.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, those poor animators.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That should be illegal.
Right. And it's this big thing of like, well, hey, like, look, we just made a feature-length movie in 4 months, and now
it was fantastic.
And it was fantastic. Yeah, like look at how good it is. You don't need to be spending your money developing these movies for 4 to 7 years. We'll do it for you in 4 months. And so it's just like an incredibly unsustainable business model. And I did read that this came up on my news feed the other day. The chief animation director of Jujutsu Kaisen 0 took to Twitter a few days ago to basically say the anime industry only has a few years left before it just outright collapses, because what is going on right now is incredibly unsustainable. Yeah. The companies aren't focusing on training their staff, like bringing in new people, training them, like building a career as an animator, and training their staff with like learning new techniques, like helping them grow. They are not focused on that at all. They're just focused on getting the content made one way or another. So if people don't want to like get paid to work in these horrible working conditions, then the companies are just outsourcing the work to animators that they can find on Twitter rather than focusing on their own staff. Yeah, that was like, whoa. So it's like, paying people who will do the job for nothing with experience, and like whoever can get it done for the cheapest, like that's who will get it done. And it's like it's all just focused on money and not the people who are actually like the backbone of the industry.
Which I'm so surprised. I'm so surprised that like the content that has been coming out, especially with this new season of Jujutsu Kaisen, that it has been such amazing quality, especially if that's what they're doing, because you would think there would be so much like inconsistency in the way the episodes are animated and like the way it looks and everything like that. If you're just reaching out to any old animator through Twitter, like that, like there's no way, like how are we still getting the quality?
Right.
Like, yeah.
And it's wild. Like it's almost like the signs were always there. Like I don't know. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but I'll just repeat it. Yuri on Ice had the most key animators of any other show that season, of like 48.5 animators per episode. That was like 5 more on average than the other next highest show at the time in that season. Which 48.5 key animators. Like it broke that record, in 2016, and it's like, it almost feels like, to some degree, like maybe, that show got really noticed because of all of the hard work that was put into it, and now they're saying like, hey, we want to be that hard work studio, but also do it for a fraction of the price. It's just like there's just no way.
Mm-hmm. That's so.
Meanwhile, it's like your
saddening.
2 favorite shows.
I know. What the heck? All this cognitive dissonance.
I know. First Squid Game, now
this.
I
know. Why?
It's hard to be a consumer in today's day and age.
Oh my God.
Being so aware.
Literally. It's hard to exist, honestly.
Fair.
There's so much going on. But yeah, I really hope something changes. I hope that, now that this is out there.
Yeah, people are talking about it.
Yeah, it's on people's minds.
They keep talking about like an indefinite delay coming to Jujutsu Kaisen season 2 because there's only, I think, 5 more episodes, maybe 4 more episodes left, and it's like every week we're like, is it coming out? Is it gonna happen? But then it comes out, like the episode arrives on time. As scheduled. I mean, there have been some delays, but it's like, oh, we're going to air it in Japan on Thursday, but then it'll go up on streaming on Friday. And it's like, whoa, goodness, like, whoa, a delay. Like, and they make that announcement like it's like a big deal that like, oh yeah, you're like, it won't be on streaming until Friday. But it's like, in today's day and age, with so much content available to me, like I do not care if something gets delayed by a day. I think there's probably like huge financial ramifications of them doing that. Like probably at the core of it that like they're not happy about. But like for me as a consumer, like I do not care. I don't need it to come out at this regular cadence. I just want it to be good.
Same. I'm like take a whole few months off. Like TV shows on like cable network like channels, they'll do like part of the season in January through whatever, take a little break and then come back later in the fall, and it's like, do that. I don't care. I can wait a few months. Just like, 1, employees first, like make sure they're taken care of, and then 2, make sure the show's good. Like, do what you gotta do.
Like I don't there's like a famous quote, and everybody whoever says this quote usually botches it, and I'm gonna keep that theme going by botching this quote. But Shigeru Miyamoto, who is like well known for being like the creator of Mario and Zelda, he has this quote where he basically, at the core of the quote is that he's saying like, a rushed game is forever bad, but one that is good, like is good forever. Like if you take your time on making something, like it will last forever. But something that you rushed just to get out, like it will always be bad.
Yeah.
And it, like, I mean, in this case, like, they're Russian and it's great, but like you hear, episode 17, like, oh, they were only 30% done with it, and then they still had to put it out in order to put it out on time. And it's like, okay, well, that was like the most amazingly animated thing I've ever seen in my entire life. What do you mean that was only 30% done? So like part of it is almost like maybe their standards are like way too high.
But no, I feel like sure, it looks great even when it's 30% done. But like give them the time to because I'm sure
I would love to see what that looks like, what it's
Yeah.
supposed to be at 100%.
Exactly.
I want to rewatch that episode right now. It was just so fantastic to look at.
Yeah. I'm like, it's an art.
Right.
You need the time. You need time to craft the art. Why rush it?
Right. But then if the story is still fully conveyable with what they had at 30%, then like if you're the studio, the people behind the money of the studio, like that's like negative reinforcement. Like, oh, it's fine. It came out at 30%, not at the full artistic vision, but it still got the job done. Yeah. Like that seems problematic.
Yeah, but we deserve better. We deserve more than just it got the job done.
No, I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah, and I'm sure the animators, like we see it and we're like, oh, well, it still looks great. But I'm sure the animators, they knew exactly what they would have done had they had the time. And I bet you it sucks to see your work out there unfinished.
Yeah.
And like you're sitting there probably watching it like, oh, I wish I wanted to do this thing, or like that thing is a mistake and maybe no one notices it. But like you see it because it's your baby. You've been working really hard on it. Like that's gotta suck. Oh my God. I'd be devastated.
Yeah. That being said, like it's really putting me in the mood to watch it. I'd rewatch it right now.
Are we behind on episodes?
Yeah, we're like 2 episodes behind.
We need to watch it.
I would go back and rewatch that last episode.
I rewatch the whole season. I would love to.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, no, we probably will.
Because it started out way different than how it ended up.
Right, but it's been consistently
it was like
great
a whole
the
different
whole
show.
time.
I know. Oh my gosh, it's just too good.
All right, well, those are all the notes I had on Yuri on Ice. Anything else that you'd like to say before we move on?
Just that I loved it so much, and it's like now my new favorite show ever.
And you're gonna rewatch it every Christmas season?
Yep, I'll probably rewatch it even when it's not Christmas.
Wow.
Because I just loved it that much.
Wow.
Yep, it's so good.
The whole reason I watched it the first time was pretty random. I went to Dolores Park in San Francisco with my friend to like have a picnic with some of his friends. Mm-hmm. And some of us got talking about anime, and his friend, who like I had never met this woman before, but she was like, oh, like what anime do you like, Parker? And I was like, oh, I think the best one I've seen is Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. I was like, what about you? And she was like, I think my favorite one is Yuri on Ice. And I'm like, what are you talking about? That sounds whack. And she's like, no, trust me, like it is amazing.
So good.
Go watch an episode and like tell me you're not going to finish it. And so so I went home, I watched the first episode. It immediately grabbed me with the opening theme song. Yeah. And I was like, I'm watching all of it. Like it was a very clear and immediate like, yep, that's happening. Yeah. And look where it got us.
I know. Normally you're like having to be like, have you watched episodes yet? Have you seen anything? We should watch it. And I'm like, yeah, we'll get to it. I'll watch it. And this time I was like, I'm watching it without you because I want to keep watching.
Yeah,
and
you were like, watch it without me.
You were like, what the heck? I want to see it. I'm like, no, you're not home. I'm watching it. I was like, I don't care. I need more. I need to see it.
Yeah. I also heard that the opening sequence, like the title theme song sequence for Yuri on Ice, I didn't read this in any of my trivia, but I do remember reading this in like YouTube comments for the video of the theme song. It was, I believe, if I'm recalling correctly, it was animated by one person in 2 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Goodness.
MAPPA.
MAPPA, what are we gonna do?
I know, but I love that opening sequence though.
I know, it's permanently embedded in my mind.
It's great.
I love it.
All right. Well, anyway, if any of that sounds of interest to you, go check it out. Go watch the first episode. Catch it on Crunchyroll. Watch it in Japanese. We started the dub out of curiosity on Funimation.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. We were not into it at all. Go watch it in Japanese with subtitles, and hopefully you love it as much as we do.
I'm kind of sad. Nothing will ever be as good as that.
Wow.
I'm like, cancel Christmas. I don't even want to do any more assignments.
Oh my God.
That one was just too good.
Well, I'm glad you let me assign it to you.
Yeah.
We were like not even sure if it fit the theme.
I know.
Look, it's like it's changed your life.
It literally has. It was everything I needed.
All right, let's get into next week's assignments.
All right, do you want to go first?
Yes, I'm going to go first. No surprise, I am assigning you The Holiday.
The Holiday.
This is a rom-com from like 2010.
I know. The one I've started so many times and can't get past the first like
Kate
5
Winslet,
minutes.
Cameron Diaz, Jude Law, Jack Black. It's great.
Yeah.
It's a good movie. Like it is.
Yeah.
You'll be surprised. I think you'll be surprised. I'm not trying to like hype it up too much, but like
our local theater is
great.
actually playing it in theaters, and so we were debating. Well, I was debating if I should go watch it in the theaters.
I've got to meet up that night.
Yeah, but we'll see. Cool. All right, I'm gonna give you, and we'll see how this goes. I'm gonna give you The Best Man Holiday. So a few weeks ago, I watched The Best Man because I knew that I wanted to assign you Best Man Holiday.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, it's been a minute since I watched the first one, and I need that context because I needed to provide you the context.
Yeah, I didn't like watch The Best Man.
You didn't,
though, but
I know.
I did watch the end of it.
Yes.
So I feel, and you explained all of the ins and outs of all the different relationships. I feel like I'm up on the Best Man verse.
Okay, cool. So we're gonna give you Best Man Holiday. See how it goes. If I gotta kind of give you more of the context,
That's
then,
fine.
yeah.
That's fine. I mean, you probably will while we're watching it, just to make sure. I might have questions.
Honestly, I might have questions.
Oh no,
There's so many characters.
Gotcha.
I know, but I'm excited to watch this.
All right, cool. So next week we have The Holiday and the Best Man Holiday. Cool.
Yep.
Sounds good. I think every week this year the word holiday will be in something.
No, my last Christmas assignment, it does not have the word holiday.
Mine does.
Well.
All right. Well, we will catch you next week for the annual Christmas swap, holiday swap, holiday swap week 2, which will be The Holiday and the Best Man Holiday. We'll catch you then. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Be sure to like, subscribe, whatever, comment, whatever you feel like doing. We're just here to have fun. And we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.